Despite a dying cable TV industry, an uncertain streaming future, despite facing a crowded sports media landscape, despite steadily declining TV ratings, NASCAR just inked a massive $7.7 billion media rights deal. Most industry experts have declared this a win for America's biggest racing series, but did NASCAR win at the expense of their most loyal fan? Let's discuss in today's episode. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. A few days ago, this post on the site formerly known as Twitter caught my attention and clearly caught the attention of many others. Over 100,000, nearly 200,000 impressions. Joe Pompliano, who I'm not personally familiar with, but he has over 500,000 followers on X. He has a regular sports and business podcast, The Joe Pomp Show, and he stated that despite Formula One's rise in America the past few years, NASCAR is still #1 in the States. He packed a lot of information into about 10 minutes, which I didn't know was possible. I thought it was a prerequisite. If you have a podcast, you need to talk for at least an hour. Ramble if you must. But no, in this show, he was concise, short and sweet. He mentioned some basic stats, discussed some ways NASCAR may be challenged in the near future. But listening to this show and seeing that post reminded me that I hadn't really sat down to discuss NASCAR's brand new media rights deal in any significant detail. When the news broke, I was actually on vacation. So in this video, I'm not only going to explain exactly how this new media rights deal works, but I also want to address how this deal will affect NASCAR, the competitors, and most importantly, the fans. Let's dive in. This brand new 7-year agreement will begin in 2025, so we still have a whole year left of the old deal. But beginning in 2025, the first 14 Cup Series races, including the exhibition races like the Clash and the All-Star race, will be broadcast on Fox Sports. 5 races will be on Big Fox, 9 will be on FS1, and Fox will carry practice and qualifying for the Clash, the Daytona 500, and the All-Star race. Fox and NASCAR have had a strong relationship for more than 20 years now. No surprise that will continue. Can we at least ditch the comic book caricatures? Painting abs on a fire suit looks ridiculous. After Fox's opening portion of the schedule concludes, Amazon Prime Video will exclusively stream the next 5 NASCAR Cup Series races. This is a huge first for NASCAR. No better way to dip your toe into the streaming world, in my opinion, than with Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has over 150 million subscribers in the US alone. Chances are, if you don't have Amazon Prime yourself, someone in your household does, a neighbor does, a family member does. Amazon Prime is in twice as many homes as cable television these days. A massive, massive platform. Now, an added wrinkle to this, Prime Video will also stream practice and qualifying for the first 19 races of the season, minus the aforementioned Clash, Daytona 500, and All-Star race. Those will be on the Fox family of networks. After Amazon Prime's portion is up, the second half of the Cup Series schedule will kick off with TNT Sports. NASCAR last partnered with TNT in 2014, I believe, so it's been a decade, but they're back together. These 5 races will be simulcast on TNT, a cable channel, and on HBO Max, or now Max, which is another popular streaming service. And it's important to note that practice and qualifying for the entire second half of the season will be on either True TV, a cable channel, or again streaming on Max. According to reports, NASCAR originally was trying to sell this mid-season stretch to just one streaming partner. They wound up with 2. But again, the TNT half, those 5 races will also be available on cable if you subscribe to TNT. The final 14 races of the Cup Series season will be on the NBC Sports family of networks. 4 races will be on Big NBC, 10 will be on USA Network. Again, practice and qualifying will be on True TV, Max. NBC will not carry those. Now that's just the NASCAR Cup Series. Before this deal got done, the NASCAR Xfinity Series sold their rights to the CW. That deal also runs for 7 years and is worth approximately $800 million out of the total $7.7 billion. All 33 Xfinity Series races will be available on free over-the-air broadcast television. The CW is beginning to get into sports as well. The Xfinity Series will arguably be their flagship program out the gates. It's worth noting though that while the CW will broadcast the races, the actual broadcast itself will be produced by NASCAR Productions, which could be a great move, although many have pointed out that there's potentially a conflict of interest there. You know, what if NASCAR makes a bad call or makes a bad decision during the race? Who's going to call them out on TV? Certainly not NASCAR Productions. But regardless, a big deal for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, Fox Sports, specifically FS1, will carry all of their races beginning in 2025 as well. So very little will change for the Truck Series. So there's your refresher on exactly how this deal is going to work, where you can find every Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series race beginning in 2025. Now, let's dive into how this deal impacts NASCAR, the competitors, and the fans. Because Joe Pompliano, in his podcast, I think put things quite bluntly. Because he said, with this deal, NASCAR chose to maximize profits to the point that it's hurting the consumer. Let's begin with how this deal impacts NASCAR. They'll be getting $1.1 billion annually from their TV partners. That's a near 40% increase over the amount of money they get now. That is huge. That TV money is what allows this sport to operate at the scale it currently does. That is a big win for NASCAR. They'll also get more promotion from a variety of outlets. No, ESPN didn't pick them up, but your usual suspects of Fox and NBC are still there. Now you get Amazon promoting their content to their consumers. TNT Sports, owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, they have relationships with House of Highlights, Bleacher Report. According to NASCAR, they expect those platforms to promote the sport more than they do now, which is basically zero. And like Bleacher Report, on X, they have 16 million followers. On Instagram, 22 million. On TikTok, 6 million. Those platforms reach younger audiences that by and large NASCAR has failed to resonate with. So that could be a huge win from a marketing standpoint. Going back to that original tweet from Joe Pompliano, yes, NASCAR's TV audience is way bigger than Formula One's, at least here in America, but Formula One actually beat NASCAR in the key demographic multiple times this past season. Only around 20% of NASCAR's TV audience is under the age of 50. Great to have so many long-time loyal fans, but that also hinders your sport's ability to grow. Again, I believe NASCAR won big with this TV deal, so another positive, they get to hedge their bets. They're no longer exclusively on broadcast TV and cable. Now, like we've discussed, they get to dip their toe into streaming. And we haven't even discussed the upcoming Netflix docuseries, or Amazon has the rights to a Garage 56 documentary. There was a stretch earlier this year where cable and broadcast TV viewership made up less than half of total American TV viewership for the first time ever. Cable TV continues to lose subscribers month after month, year after year, with no end in sight. That's not to say streaming is some sort of godsend. No, I'm glad NASCAR didn't fully commit to streaming, because streaming is also quite volatile. A lot of these streaming platforms have jacked up their prices routinely over the past couple of years to desperately try and make a profit. The future of TV media is very uncertain. NASCAR, I think, was smart with this deal to kind of hedge their bets. This deal was a big win for NASCAR, but now let's shift over to the competitors, the drivers, the teams. In some ways, this deal was a win. In other ways, this deal is still kind of an unknown. One big win is presumably the teams will get more money through the purse beginning in 2025. Obviously, that's dependent on a new charter agreement being signed, and those negotiations continue. For years now, teams have asked NASCAR for a larger slice of the pie. Now that pie is, again, 40% larger, so more than likely that will be a big win for the teams. I think the Xfinity Series won out here, with every single race being on free broadcast television. Hopefully we'll expose that series to larger overall audiences, make it easier for those teams to sell big time sponsorship. For the Cup Series, having races exclusively on streaming, we don't know how that's going to go. Will that expose the sport to new audiences, or will much of the existing audience tune out because they don't want to pay for a new platform, or they can't find it because it's not on their traditional TV guide? Will that hurt the team's abilities to sell sponsorship, at least for those races? That remains to be seen. Also, fewer races on broadcast TV beginning in 2025. I think this year, in 2023, there were like 18 or 19 races on Big Fox or Big NBC. starting in 2025, there will be only 9 races on Big Fox or Big NBC. So overall TV viewership for the year will probably take a hit. Might make it difficult to sell sponsorship at the same rates they've been used to. So how this works out for the teams kind of remains to be seen. I think NASCAR, though, has made it clear they want the drivers and teams to take things into their own hands. They want the drivers to actively promote themselves and the sport. I mentioned that massive new NASCAR Productions facility that just opened just outside of Charlotte. NASCAR President Steve Phelps made it clear during his State of the Sport address a few weeks ago that he wants the drivers to use that facility for content. Content is king. Believe me, I've heard it. Hopefully, the teams can leverage this new relationship with Amazon or Bleacher Report to put some great content out and promote not only themselves, but the series itself. So big win for NASCAR, kind of unsure for the teams. Now let's talk about how this impacts the fans. There are still some questions regarding the sport's international rights, so if you don't live in the United States, I'm not exactly sure how this new deal impacts you just yet. I think NASCAR is still shopping their international broadcast rights around, so TBD on that front. But most NASCAR fans live in the United States, so I'm mainly talking to you guys. For fans in the States, watching NASCAR races just got a little more complicated. There's not just 2 families of networks to worry about, now there's 4. And now it's not just broadcasting cable, there are 5 races in the middle of the season that are exclusively on a digital streaming platform. The Daily Downforce a couple weeks ago did a piece where they tried to estimate about how much it would cost the average American race fan per month to watch all live NASCAR content. They concluded that if you want to watch every race and every practice and qualifying session for the entire year, it'll likely cost on average just over $100 per month. NASCAR is asking its fans to pay more money to watch essentially the same product. Again, there are 150 million Amazon Prime subscribers in the United States, and if you've watched the races on USA Network and FS1 in recent years, chances are you already have TNT, so you're already used to paying that cable bill. But for some fans, you are now asking them to spend more money to see the same content they've been used to getting. And that is a loss for the fans. Where this could be a win for the fans is having 4 different networks effectively broadcasting your sport, not to mention the CW, so really 5 different networks. This opens up the opportunity for new transformative styles of broadcasting, new play-by-play commentators, on-air talent we're not used to seeing. There's not necessarily more competition, but now there are more networks, so there's more opportunity to try something new and maybe show NASCAR races in a way that's never been done before. That might be better. Fox's broadcasting style has not evolved much, if at all, over the last 20 years. NBC has tried some new things, which I think most fans have appreciated. Now we get to see what Amazon and TNT Sports can do. So while the cost may go up and the on-track activity may not change, hopefully the broadcasts themselves, the lens through which we get to watch NASCAR, hopefully that part of the experience improves with these new partners being introduced. But time will tell. Going back to Joe Pompliano's comments, he's exactly right. NASCAR chose to get the most money possible because that's what makes the sport operate at the expense of the consumer. It is going to cost the average fan a little bit more money to watch all the races. With now 4 or 5 different partners, including the CW, it may be hard for some fans to find the race each week. NASCAR is betting that HBO, Amazon help bring the sport to new audiences that stick around. A lot of uncertainty. There is one thing that I can guarantee. NASCAR's TV partners collectively will continue to have the most power in the sport. It's been that way for at least a decade, if not longer. Like a great example I read in The Athletic, an interview with Steve Phelps, NASCAR president, and he confirmed what we already kind of knew, that Bristol Dirt was something that Fox wanted. Marcus Smith, SMI, they weren't crazy about the idea. They didn't really want to do it, but Fox wanted a dirt race at Bristol, so a dirt race at Bristol happened. As long as TV continues to spend this kind of money annually, they pull the strings, especially when it comes to future Cup Series schedules. Covered a lot in this episode. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you looking forward to NASCAR's new TV partners in 2025? What kind of new on-air talent would you like to see? Could Alan Bestwick, my favorite, make a return? Perhaps with TNT Sports returning, maybe we'll get Ernie, Chuck, and Shaq doing a pre-race show before Atlanta or something. It's probably not gonna happen, and honestly after about 5 minutes we probably wouldn't want it to happen any further. But leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR just about every single day, and a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. We got Out of the Groove hoodies for sale as well. You can click that top link down in the description below. Stay warm this winter and look groovy at the same time. I will see you again very soon. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.